I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels, an inspiration to children everywhere, a national treasure. You're watching Dre Gaming 41? Dre 41 Gaming, my man.
I'm like, and then as soon as I seen like, oh, they doing community creations, bet I'll be on it.
For real. Yeah, man. That's our first. That's how I first came upon you was when we started doing the community creations. And I think it was Tank Aaron Kaufman, our social media manager. He just wanted us to kind of like highlight, the top creations and stuff. And I was constantly seeing Dre 41. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Is this cat? It's like I'm highlighting this shit every fucking week.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. We come full circle. Now that we are on the phone.
Right, exactly.
Very nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you too, man. Like I definitely appreciate this, mainly because it was just like I wanted to grow my YouTube channel, and just doing gameplay is cool, but I also wanted to be able to get like interviews and really get like the people behind the game, not even so much about like, of course, like the game and history of the game and how you feel about certain aspects from past games and things like that, but just like how you got into it, like what's, like your views on wrestling, what do you like to watch, what got you into it in the first place. It's little things like that, like the little insight into a person's life that I'm more interested in. Of course the game, but more like what got them to where they're at.
I like that. That's a good angle to take, because I mean, obviously there's not we're not at it. I mean, there's plenty of other sites and everything. We can just kind of get the straight facts about the game, but to kind of,
they got everybody who does it about like a game. I'm good on that. Like, let people search for that. But if they want to know the people behind it, I want to be that person. Like, I also have I'm trying to get another interview for a wrestler for Northeast Wrestling. His name is Wrecking Ball. I'm trying to get an interview with him too. So I'm trying to do a lot of things, man. Trying to do a lot of things, keep busy.
Well, to speak on that, like, I could probably set up or hook you up with my boy Mike Taylor, who was basically the fucking the MVP, the team captain of our mocap squad for a good 10, 11 years. And I don't know if you probably don't know Mike Taylor, but or heard the name, but he was an OVW guy, signed, WWE's developmental. Was then in Deep South. I met Mike in 2006. Him and his wife Tracy were both in Deep South, and they came out from mocap. It was them two. Bill DeMott was the trainer there. MVP, Doug Basham, a couple other cats over in Deep South at that time. But me and Mike became really good friends, and when him and Tracy got released, I think they got released in 2008, 2009. I brought him back into the team, into the mocap team, because at that point we had gotten word from WWE that they would no longer supply us with their developmental talent.
What?
Because they were moving their stuff to FCW.
Okay.
And that's when they wanted to make FCW more of a priority. So they told us, you guys build a group of wrestlers, and just, you can use them. So I was like, cool. So I just reached out to pretty much a lot of the guys that had just been released. Yeah. From WWE, and Mike Taylor was one, but I would say, and I've talked about Mike in other interviews and stuff, but I would say Mike from SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 to 2K17.
Yeah,
I would say a good 70 to 75% of all of the in-game motions is him.
Wow, damn, he must be talented as hell.
He is. He was. I mean, if you look him up, I mean, he's like a smaller guy, but like thick and wide and muscular, but can do a lot of cruiserweight shit. Like, he was a cruiserweight before we brought in Sanjay, which is crazy to think about it. But that's how versatile that Mike is. But no, like, I think, but because he's got the wrestling background. I mean, he was on Velocity. He got a ton of stories. He was on Velocity and worked Kendrick in London. Their first match as a team together. He was there day one when they opened up Deep South. He just got a ton of stories. He's been in and around the business. But yeah, I think he would be a great interview, man, because he can talk about the game as well as just wrestling shit. If you were interested.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah, I will take that for real. What do you remember your first match. What show were you watching? Was it WWF, WCW? How did you first see wrestling and really get interested in it?
Jeez. This is going to be slightly difficult to answer, like my first match. Because, truth be told, Dre, like, so I'm 40 years old. I turned 40 this year in May. So I was born in '79. So I came up through, you know, the WWF, rock and wrestling in the '80s boom. So wrestling was always present, like to me, but it was never anything that I was really into.
Oh, wow.
When I was young. I mean, I remember watching the Saturday morning cartoons sometimes. I did, the first wrestling action figure I got for Christmas, which I don't know who got it for me because I wasn't even into wrestling, but it was a King Kong Bundy LJN figure.
Wow.
Which I actually loved, and I would play with that with my Transformers and G.I. Joes. And I'm a fan of King Kong Bundy to this day because of that damn toy. But I remember watching it, just kind of tangentially on TV. Like they'd flip into the channels and I'd see it, but I would quickly change the channel because it just didn't appeal to me, to be honest. Wow. And I'd much rather watch cartoons. So the first match is really hard for me to say. I just remember seeing Hulk Hogan. He was everywhere, of course. Yeah. All that kind of stuff. But first match, I could say the first promo because the first promo is what got me into wrestling. So with this, we got to fast forward to 1997.
Oh wow!
It was my first. I had just graduated high school. My first year in college. I went to Cal State Northridge out here in Los Angeles, and I remember it was the second semester. Maybe it was '98 actually, and because the first semester I lived off campus, and then second semester I got into the dorm, and a good buddy of mine who I met in the dorm, who's still my best friend to this day, my buddy Amir. He had invited me over to his room to watch Monday Night Raw with him and his roommate. And I'm like, man, I don't watch that wrestling shit. I don't want to do that. And he's like, no, bro, you got to come. You got to check it out. It's going to be so much fun. Like, just have some beers. You don't have to, just hang with us. Just hang with us. So I'm like, all right. So I left my room, went upstairs to his. And there were about 4 cats in there, him, his roommate, some other people, and then myself. Yeah. So, I'm having a beer with them, and, like, they're having a good time, and they're enjoying whatever the hell they were watching, but they kept changing the channels and stuff, going from Nitro to Raw. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Because none of this shit was, I didn't know any of this shit was going on. The Monday Night Wars, none of this. And they were watching, I remember shooting the shit with Amir, and then all of a sudden this dude starts talking, and I started laughing, and I turned, I'm looking, and all of a sudden I'm focused on this guy cutting this promo, and I was just like enthralled, and I put my beer down, and I'm laughing, I'm like, this guy is fucking incredible. I'm like, bro, yo, who is this? He's like, oh, dude, that's The Rock, man. I'm like, The Rock? I'm like, okay. And from there, it was like pretty much game on. So I know that a lot of people, especially in my age group, my generation, like they attribute Hulk Hogan and Savage and all those guys is what got them being fans. But for me, it was The Rock, and because I hadn't seen anybody in my prior experience of trying to sample wrestling, seen a promo as quite honestly as cool as that. Because he came across hip, the dude wasn't rocking yellow, which I always had a problem with Hogan. It's like, dude, you're really yellow, man. That's a coward's color. Big old swole-looking hot dog running around here with yellow and red. I could not get the appeal of Hogan. And then, now I feel justified in that with all the nigga comments and everything. So, fuck Hogan. So The Rock he was my entry point, man. And after that, it was just a regular thing, regular habit of every Monday. Get done with classes and get to the dorms, and me and my boys would just get together and channel flip between Nitro and Raw, and I gravitated towards the WWF pretty much instantly. Like, the shit that I would see on Nitro, it just looked bad. I mean, outside of seeing Goldberg, I'm like, oh, this guy looks pretty cool and shit. The WCW stuff just didn't really appeal to me, at least back then. So that's really what got me. That's what got me into wrestling. But even that didn't really keep me there. enjoyed it. Once Vince bought WCW and all of that, I slowly, and not just myself, but me and Amir and the fellas, we slowly started to we kind of faded out of getting together every Monday. Mm-hmm. And a large part of it, if I'm being honest, probably just had to do with the fact that we were all super seniors and just needed to buckle down and get the fuck out of college.
Yeah.
So that really became the priority. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I kind of just stopped watching altogether. And then I graduated. And what got me back into wrestling was getting my job at THQ.
Now, how did that happen, though?
So my ex-girlfriend, Caroline, is to thank for basically where I am today. Because she knew, I remember, do you remember The Real World?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I remember there was a Real World Boston, and there was this one cat on there, this brother named Cyrus, and I really liked him a lot. And it was like after that season in Boston, they did like a Where Are They Now type of special. And they showed Cyrus, and he was talking about how, after the show, he's doing this, that, and the other, and that he got the job. It was probably at EA, working as a game tester.
Okay.
And that was the first time I even heard about that being a profession. And I was getting close to graduating, and just kind of like on a whim, talking to my girl, my ex, and I just mentioned, because we were talking about, what we were going to do when we were going to graduate, because we were both very close. She graduated before me, but I was, just a little bit right behind her. And I just told her, it's like, I think when I graduate, because I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'm probably going to, I'm going to get a job trying to be a game tester. That seems fun, kind of do that for a little bit until I figure out what it is I want to do. And I just made it just like, just a passing comment to her. And we'll fast forward a little bit. When I graduated, that night, she told me that she had submitted an application for me to this place called THQ for a game testing position, and that I was scheduled for this phone interview. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I just remember you talking about it, and I just wanted to do something nice for you, for your graduation.
Wow. And
I thought it was the sweetest thing ever, and I, did the interview, and then went to a second interview where I met HR and got hired.
Wow.
And this was 2003? Yeah, like summer of 2003. And that's what got my foot in the door. I got to THQ and had to do this week of training, which in hindsight is like pretty ridiculous because the job is so freaking easy. But honestly, apparently, you go through the training, and then if you pass, you get the job.
Yeah.
And I just assumed that the job was mine. But there were a couple of cats in the training class with me that didn't get hired. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about them. But I got hired, and that was my start. And the first game that I was assigned to was Raw 2 from the original Xbox.
Oh, wow.
You remember that game?
I have that game.
Yeah, I still have it too. Wow. It was not a very good game.
Yeah, but you know what? It has its uses.
It did. I remember the thing that everybody, that all of us testers enjoyed the most was, because I think that was the last game of, like, I guess if you want to call them like the modern or more modern or current consoles, where the player was given complete freedom over the appearance of the wrestlers themselves. Like,
yes.
There weren't any restrictions placed on what you could do as far as their appearance, clothing, all that stuff. I remember everybody gave me a kick out of that.
Yep. Changing people's gimmicks and everything. Yep.
Yeah. So once I was testing that, and like I said, I kind of been out of the loop with wrestling, or just WWE at the time, and being on that game and seeing faces that I recognized, but then a whole bunch of faces that I didn't. It just got me kind of more interested in what was going on. And then at the same time, a lot of the cast that I was working with on that project, the lead in particular, we became friends, and he was a really big wrestling fan. And, talking to him every day and working on the project, it just slowly got me back into watching WWE. And that was really it. And after I finished that project, I remember they were just starting SmackDown. I say just starting, like they're bringing it into test. Here Comes the Pain, and a lot of my team was being moved over to that project, but I was still stuck on the Raw 2, and I was asking him, I'm like, hey, can I get put on this? You know, it's like I want to work on Here Comes the Pain, but I did not get my wish, and ultimately I got put on SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Damn.
Instead. But everything works out for a reason, because I tell you what, man, that game actually was pretty damn fun. And I met a lot of friends on that project that I'm still tight with to this day. But after that, I ended up doing SmackDown, the first SmackDown versus Raw.
Okay.
That was my third game. And that's really where I kind of got my foot in the door as far as TV is concerned, because while testing that game, and at this point, I was all in with WWE as far as watching the product and everything like that. So once I got put on SmackDown, that first SmackDown versus Raw, like I knew the guys, I was good at the game. So, you know, my manager, my lead, Ian, he went up to me one day and he was like, hey, Brian, would you be available or willing to go to Vegas to this GameStop manager show? They need somebody to demo the game to like the managers at this convention. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Anything to get out of the office and shit. So I went on that trip to Vegas, and I met, and I mean, I was the only one from QA, and there were several people there from, you know, product development who I would meet and kind of get to know. And I was there for 2 days, came back. 2 weeks later, I was sent on another trip, this time, another manager show. This time it was in Orlando. Similar thing, there to demo the game. And it was there that I met my boy, I feel bad for his name. Oh, damn. It's been a long time since I talked to him, but he was a designer from the game, from product development. And me and him got along really great during the trip. We had Albert.
Okay.
He was there, signing autographs and everything during the event for us. And it was funny, like right after that event, WWE released him, and then he went to Japan, I believe.
Damn.
Because he was out with an injury, and he was just. And I remember talking to Albert. I'm working my way back. The doctors have cleared me. It's just a matter of time before I get put back on TV. And then shortly after he got released.
Damn.
But damn, what was his name? Dude, this is really bugging me. Oh man. But yeah, all right. In any event, killing. I gotta find out. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Well, it's probably gonna come to you though.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I'll just keep going. So we're at the convention, and me and him, we just kind of we got along really well, and he liked me. He was impressed with my knowledge of WWE and the game and everything like that. So we just had a really good time and working together. And ultimately, when I got back, when we all went back to LA and everything, I remember a couple of weeks later he came down to see me because we were on the second floor. QA was, and then product development and everybody else were like above us. And I remember one day I was working, and my manager, my lead, comes. He's like, "Hey, Brian, somebody wants to talk to you out in the hallway." So I go out there, and it was Devin. There we go, Devin. Oh, I feel bad for Devin. It's Devin. And so he's like, "Hey, Brian." I'm like, "Hey, Devin, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know how impressed I was, with how well you handled yourself at that event. Do you think, would you want to work on the game and in a design capacity? Is that something that would be of interest to you?" And I told him, I'm like, "You kidding me?" I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah." And so he told me, he was like, "Well, okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I can't promise you anything, but I'm going to talk to my people, my coworkers and everybody upstairs, and we'll be in touch, or I'll be in touch." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." So, months went by and didn't hear anything about it. And during this time, like, I was just getting fed up in QA. Like, I had been there a year, maybe a month, I was just sick of it. You know, the hours were terrible. I was just tired of the stupid games that I was testing on, and I was like, but the thing is, like, I didn't want to leave THQ. I just wanted a better position.
Yeah.
So I remember going to the head of QA, Monica was her name, and she allowed me to, kind of vent to her a little bit. And I just told her that, look, Monica, I don't want to leave, but I've done this X amount of time. I'm not really learning anything new, and I just know that I can offer something more than what, I'm currently able to do.
Yeah.
And she told me about a new position that was opening up in QA called for the game evaluation team. Now this team in QA was like everything. Everybody in QA wanted to be a part of this team because it was in QA, but you weren't testing.
Okay.
It was the most kind of like lush and relaxed position in QA because there were only like 5 people on the team. And essentially what it was is that you basically, the game evaluation team, the GET team, was there to analyze, competitive titles from other publishers, developers against what we were doing internally, and then write kind of reports about where we stack up with the competition.
Oh, okay.
So just very, very, just analyzing and critiquing, our own internal products as well as, the competition, stuff like that. So a lot of writing involved, which was good with me because I'm a really good writer. I mean, I have a degree in art history, so all I did is write. So she told me about that position opening up, and so I applied for it. And ultimately, I got hired for that position, and it was great. I got a nice increase in pay,
which is always good.
Which is always good, of course. But the thing is that I was only there for a month because during that time when I had just been there, Devin, he came back to me about the job in the design position, and he was like, "Are you still interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I just got this new position here." And he was like, "Well, I mean, I'm sure they'll be understanding about it. It's a much, a really good, situation." So I went and I told the guys and my new supervisor, and he was like, "Oh, Brian, of course." He's like, "Dude, that's a great opportunity. Yeah, please, by all means, we're not gonna give you any shit about that. Congrats." So that's when I went and I actually interviewed for the design position, and that's actually where I first met Corey, because Corey and Devin were both designers at the time working on the project, and I interviewed with the two of them. Devin kind of made the introduction to me and to Corey, and the three of us just kind of had a quick little meeting, and a week later I was offered the job, and it was off to the races from there, man.
Wow, that is wild. I mean, that's actually like almost like a direct path, kind of. You kind of just set yourself up to just really get to where you wanted to. I mean, everything kind of fell into place. Was there any point in time between any of that where you were like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I want to try to do something else? Was there any point in time through there where you was having a tough time to where you felt like maybe it wasn't for you?
Oh yeah. Honestly, like during that year of being a tester, I was constantly on the search for work, for new jobs. There was actually, funny enough, like after I graduated, from CSUN, from college, and I started working at THQ. It was right after I had done Raw too, and was working on SpongeBob. I got a notice in the mail from my college telling me that I owed them 3 credits, and I was like, "What?"
Oh.
So I called in sick every Wednesday for a semester, and I would call in sick every Wednesday to the job, go to my classes, and I took care of those credits. And I was worried because I remember when I first got hired, they were like, "Look, if you can't make your shift, all you need to do is call." There was like a 1-800 number that you could call and just let everybody know, "Look, I'm going to be out today." And they stress, as long as you do that, you're going to be good. The worst thing to do is to just not show up. So every Wednesday, I called that hotline, told them, "Oh yeah, I'm not feeling well. I got something I got to take care of," and finished up college. And when I went back, once that was done, I kind of was like over the whole testing thing. So yeah, I would use that hotline and go on interviews. I did this one thing where it was like a sales position where it was really bad. Like I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But I was just desperate. We were basically selling coupons door to door. Yeah, it was some stupid shit. And I remember they wanted us dressed up, so I'm in a suit, and we're selling these coupons door to door. It was like 3 or 4 of us in the valley. And so those who don't know, like, I mean, I was in San Fernando, which is kind of like, you know, on the outskirts of LA. In the summer, hot as hell. Like, I mean, in the summer, San Fernando can get anywhere. I mean, on average, you're looking at 105, 108 degrees during the summer. And I'm suited and booted, sweating my ass off, trying to sell Domino's coupons and everything. And I remember, you know, getting in the car, going with these people to get to like the neighborhoods we were going to be selling. And we passed by THQ, and I'm out here going door to door, and I'm just I missed my chair and my desk at the office so bad. I was like, as much as I dislike, you know, that testing job, I wish nothing more than that day than to get my ass out of that suit, off the street, and back in the office testing Big Mother Truckers, I think it was at the time. So that was bad. But no, there were a lot of moments where I just got disillusioned. I'm like, man, I'm not making a lot of money. You know, I went to college and paying all this money and these student loans, and this is what I'm doing. And I just didn't feel right about myself. And honestly, like, that is what propelled me to go and talk to Monica in the first place. It's just that frustration that I was having. So there was a lot of times, where I was questioning everything. But honestly, like, everything changed once I went into Monica's office, and, you know, I just, you know, expressed to her my desire to improve my station at the company. And once that happened, like, everything kind of fell into place. Okay. And once I got the game evaluation gig, and then, of course, once I got hired on to work as a designer on the WWE project, I mean, that was just, I didn't expect or see any of that coming from myself, you know, at all. Like, this was no master plan or anything. It was just, everything was kind of, I slipped on the man appeal of life, and it led to happy consequences for me.
And that's a good thing. And like a lot of times, like when people are in tough times in life, they always have that option, the easy way, quit and just not even try and accept failure, as opposed to, you know what, I'm gonna stick it out, even though I feel the need to quit. I'm gonna stick it out and keep going. And that's definitely something a lot of people need to hear, especially when they feel like they're at the bottom. Your goals will only go away if you give up on them. So, I mean, that's definitely a good thing that you stuck with it. I mean, and it came out, everything came out good. So that's definitely a good thing. But now moving forward to, now you have the position, and now you're in the design team for the games. When did things change over to where it was around, I wouldn't say SmackDown versus Raw 2010. I believe that's probably when I started seeing videos with you on it, I think.
Okay.
When that time came around, what was the plan going forward for the team and the WWE game in general? Like, what did you guys see for the future? What were your initial plans? And what were things that were going on that you didn't want to happen, like, for an example, something that you wanted in the game that you were never able to get in there, or something that you just was pushing for and they said they would, but it didn't go through? Just give us a description of like what was going on around that time near SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. I know it was almost 10 years ago, but, you know, whatever you can say.
Yeah, that was, jeez, I'm trying to remember that. Man, what was going on? I'm in my office right now. I'm trying to see if I can look at some old games that might bring back some memories and some shit.
So let me just ask a more detailed question with that. Maybe, like, let's say with community creations, when you see that there's a community out there where there's websites like cause.ws or Smack Talks where they're sharing call creations, and did you guys see that and say, let's utilize that? Or was it someone else in your office that said, hey, I got this idea, maybe we can set up this online trading creations or downloading them? Was anybody, in your group ahead of that, or was it just an idea that just came up?
Well, we were all, like, all the designers, at least, were very, we were always aware of Cause, the website, cause.com, and what is it, the SmackDown Hotel, and like all the content creators out there. We were always aware of that. I want to say that the community creation came about once we got online in a major way and started doing like our DLC. I think our first DLC was what, 2008? SmackDown vs. Raw 2008.
I want to say it had like Vader, Evan Bourne, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was 2009. Yeah. But yeah, it kind of coincided with us, offering DLC. But it was like year over year, one of the things that, we would try to improve were just, obviously the models and all the stuff for our creative nodes, especially the creative superstars. And we kind of started getting to a point where, the visual quality of the part, just started to increase. And it was like, we've got a really good suite of modes here with, the superstar and all these things you can create. And I think it was Corey, I'm pretty sure it was him, who came up with the idea of basically allowing, players to share all this content. And Games Community Creations was born. That was a Corey, the Desma push.
Oh, okay.
If I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, I remember everybody was on board with that because it was like, well, yeah, of course, especially me, because I worked and did a lot of work in Creative Superstar, like in that mode, but I'm terrible at it, to be honest. I'm really bad. So I used to go visit, that Cause website, and I would look at, just the skill of some of these players and what they were creating and uploading. It was just like, wow, man. So when we started, came up with the idea of sharing this stuff, I was like, that's great for me because now I can just download everybody else's. I don't have to spend all this time trying to create something that's going to look, less than half as good.
Yeah.
So me personally, just as someone who plays the game as well as working on the game, that was a win for me. But yeah, but that was always a big part of our game. Was outside of the wrestling and stuff and the gameplay was our whole creation mode suite. That always got a lot of attention year over year. So it just seemed to make sense to what was the next thing we can do? It's like, well, let's elevate this and let's make it so it's like, boom, here are the tools. Share with the world. And kind of get your name out there, which obviously got your name out there to me. I kept seeing your handle on everything. That was dope at the time. And it's just, and I'm really proud of that because it's become a standard now, with the franchise. And honestly, I think with probably anything else that we do moving forward, I can't imagine that this wouldn't be something that continues.
Absolutely. Now around this time, especially with, let's say not only just downloading wrestlers from WWE or in WWE's past, but also wrestlers around the world, when did you start appreciating wrestling outside of WWE?
Okay, yeah, this I have a very good answer for. So when I got like, what was it, SmackDown versus Raw 2007? When I was working on that, so that was 2006. Because the game year was always ahead of the actual year we were in development. So it was around 2006, and working on the game, still relatively new, but really not enjoying the WWE products. Like I just was not digging it very much. And my buddy Dan, who was a former coworker with me on the game, he was the one that really kind of got me into independent wrestling, and then working with Yukes, they got me into New Japan Pro Wrestling. And me and Dan and I, he took me to my first PWG show in 2006, and I remember that just blowing my mind at the level of the in-ring talent and ability and the things that they were doing, and seeing that and then juxtaposed to what I was seeing on Raw and on SmackDown, I was like, there's a whole world of dope wrestling like this, and I'm forced to watch this shit on Mondays. I was like, this is insane. And I remember that first show at PWG, I remember seeing for the first time Pac, Kevin Steen, Owens, Claudio Castagnoli, and this Cesaro. And this is when Claudio. I remember the first time I saw Claudio. He came out, and this was back when he was rocking the suit to the ring.
Yeah, and he had like the long, stringy kind of hair.
Yeah, he kind of looked like James Buck. I guess kind of like what he was rocking his WWE entrance not too long ago. But he would just come out almost like wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And he was taller than most of the other guys on the show at that time. And I'm just looking at this guy, and I'm like, what the fuck? And during the match, he's like doing springboards and everything, and I'm just like, what? Like, this is nuts. Like, this, like, what? Like, it looked like seeing these guys wrestle it was like a video game. I was just so blown away. And I became me and Dan both became PWG regulars for like years after that. I mean, I can't tell. I used to live next to Reseda. When PWG was still running shows out of that Reseda venue. Now they're near downtown. But at the time, like, I only lived like 10 minutes away. So every time PWG would have a show, and this was during, towards PWG, before like 2014, late 13, when it really kind of blew up, where it wasn't all that difficult to get a ticket. Me and Dan would just show up, wait in line, get a ticket, and, see the show. But, yeah, I've been to, man, I don't even know, like, there were years where we didn't miss a show. So I can't tell you how many events of those I went to. So independent. So yeah, PWG and other independent promotions kind of got me more invested and interested in pro wrestling as a whole. And then, Yukes, the company that I work for now, and the company that I was working with back then with THQ, they had released a game called Wrestle Kingdom. Which you remember? Have you ever heard of that? Or
the Holy Grail? One of the holy grails of wrestling games.
Yeah, and I remember they had sent over a copy because it was only released in Japan. They had sent over a 360 copy of the first one, and I remember playing it, and it was just like, whoa, what the F is this? I'm like, this is dope.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember I recognized Brock because Brock Lesnar was on the roster of that game. But I really wasn't familiar with a lot of the other Japanese talents. And like in that game, it was almost like a King of Colosseum. It was kind of similar because they had New Japan, All Japan,
Freelance,
Pro Wrestling Noah,
like Pancreas.
Yeah, it had all the different promotions.
Yep.
What's that?
Pancreas too.
Pancreas, yeah. It had all these various promotions underneath this Wrestle Kingdom banner. So playing that game, and then just my interest in Japanese wrestling really perked up, and then I got really interested in that, and then also because I would make frequent visits to Japan to work with Yukes on site. My friends at Yukes would give me tickets to New Japan shows, and every time I would visit Japan, they would take me to whether it was a New Japan show or a Pro Wrestling Noah show. The first show in Japan that I actually did go to was a Pro Wrestling Noah event. It was Autumn Navigation 2006. The main event was Kenta All Caps versus Marufuji. Okay. And it was a 60-minute Broadway, and it was fucking incredible. I mean, the entire show was. And I was again, it just broadened my own horizons of pro wrestling in that, while WWE may be the largest, they are not pro wrestling. They are the biggest in pro wrestling, but they don't own it, and that there are other promotions and other things out there. So that actually, so I really got more involved in all that kind of stuff because, like I said, I mean, if I'm being honest, like I have never been a fan of, I guess, just the WWE as far as like the booking and their storylines, their angles, because it's kind of stupid, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Like
really, I mean, every now and again they have, and when they do good shit, I'm into it and I'm invested.
Yeah.
But the thing that really, I mean, it was the talent that kept me watching, and if there were a good angles or good storylines behind the match, and that was for me just like the icing on the cake. Mm-hmm. But during my years of watching it, those kind of things were kind of rare and few between. But again, it's like even WWE to this day, I watch it. It's not very good, but when they've got guys, the roster is so good. Where it's like if you put a match where it's like Ricochet and AJ, Yeah, of course I'm gonna watch that. I love these dudes. I just kind of wish they had better, programs behind them and stuff. But obviously that's not the talent's fault.
Yeah, true.
But that really kind of broadened my horizons, and just knowing that there's a whole other world of wrestling out there beyond WWE, and it just made me more of a fan of pro wrestling. And by this time I was just like, I just wanted to dive deep into the history of the business. I mean, I started reading any kind of book I could find on pro wrestling. I mean, I just kind of started to educate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it strengthened my wrestling fandom. Once I kind of took my sights outside of WWE's world and just got into other stuff. And I'm glad I did, because that's what the wrestling scene is now. I mean, there's all kinds of shit going on right now. This is a very cool time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because it's like you got so many options. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so many choices now. It's great.
And that's another question I'm going to get to in a little bit later. But with broadening your horizons on the different types of wrestling, did that somehow change your creative aspects or what you put into the wrestling games going forward once you started seeing different types of wrestling?
It did. And probably anybody one of the things that I was in charge with were movesets, and not just creating the movesets, but also determining which moves to get into the game and stuff. And once we started doing the move pack DLC,
mm-hmm.
which you had asked earlier, I didn't answer, about something that I had been pushing for to get into the game. The moose pack was one. I remember when Corey first announced we were doing DLC.
Yeah.
The obvious things, of course, are characters.
Yeah.
To add, new superstars, whatever. But I was pushing so hard. I'm like, no, man, we need to. The fans, they love the moves, bro. Like, if we just gave them a pack of just new moves, that shit would go over like gangbusters. And Corey didn't really think so at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a couple of years before we finally got the go ahead. And honestly, I think it was. When was it? But I think the first. It took a couple of years, because we didn't start doing the move pack until WWE, was it 13 or 14, I believe.
I think it was because I think 13 was it. It was. I know the DLC also had like NWO with it, so I think it was 14.
It was 14, because I remember we brought in Pac Neville to mocap his moves.
Yeah.
And I remember directing him at mocap for that. Yeah, no, it started with him. Yeah, so it must have been, it was WWE 2K14.
Mm-hmm.
Was the first year that we did that. And so, like I said, I've been pushing for that since, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009.
Wow.
And so it took a while for it to happen, but I don't know, the fans seem to really dig that part of the DLC.
Yeah.
And it stuck around for a while. I don't think 2K is doing it again this year. I could be wrong, but I don't think they announced it yet.
Okay.
But I was always proud. of that. But yeah, in those DLC, in those move packs, you can kind of see my influence.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of stuff from various promotions that I would use to curate those packs.
Now, so
it did. It strengthened and it helped my creativity and my game design and kind of thinking kind of more outside the box of what things we can add into the game.
Yeah.
I also, this is funny. I also did some training, some pro wrestling training.
Oh.
For a couple of months. There was a school in Anaheim, Mach 1 Pro Wrestling, run by this man named John Ian. He's kind of like a stalwart of the West Coast independent scene. He was, for the long time, the PWG ring announcer, and had his hands involved in various other independent promotions out west, on the West Coast. And I remember leaving the PWG show, and there was a flyer for this Mach 1 Pro Wrestling that was in Anaheim, which is a little further from me than where I live. But I was like, I just had the itch, especially, because, being in the mocap studio and, directing the guys, and I get in there and they'd show me some holds and I'm doing moonsaults and shit like that. I just like, man, I really want to learn this. So I contacted Mach 1 and I went down there and I trained for 3 or 4 months. And that helped because I started to get an understanding of why certain things are done, in a match. And then I was able to kind of, that helped me on the game design side of, being able to, for various, things that I was working on, I had a better sense of why things are done, and that really helped. But that was fun, that training. And I'm not very athletic in terms of sports. I'm terrible at basketball. I can't catch a football. But I was, not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good in the ring. And I had some pretty cool trainers. Joey Ryan was a trainer.
What?
Yeah. I remember Brian Cage was in one of the advanced classes. I remember seeing him there. Willie Mack, I was in the ring with him. We were doing drills. And I remember the first time I saw him, and I didn't know his name. That was the first I was in class, and it was the first time I saw him.
Yeah.
But Joey had everybody on the apron. And you've probably seen this on like Tough Enough. He would just do these drills where like 2 people would get in, work some holds and, kind of do some stuff on the fly. Those people would exit out, 2 more people would come in. And I just remember seeing when Willie got in there, he stood apart from everybody else to such a degree. And I'm just looking at him like, what the fuck? Like he was just a wrestling machine. And I was like, wow. And like I said, this is I don't know. I mean, he obviously was on a higher level than the rest of us, but he definitely stood out. And I was like, man, this guy is something special. And then after that, I started seeing him on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is like a local promotion out here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's the cat from Mach 1. I was like, oh shit. So that was really cool. But that helped with my design and just made me more knowledgeable about the art of pro wrestling. So yeah.
Was there any...
I'm sorry, man. If I'm rambling too much, you can always cut me off.
It's fine. It's fine. Was there any kickback to things that you wanted to add where they were like, okay, let's say for instance, like we know if it's a wrestler who left and who were released or left WWE, and you wanted to still add their moves in the game or anything like that, where they were like, no, I don't think we can add that, or we have to change the name, or was there any kickback to certain moves you wanted to add in the game?
No, generally speaking, no. If only in extreme cases. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you remember like when the incident with Benoit and what happened there. We had to, of course, remove him, obviously.
Yeah.
But we got rid of his moveset from the game, the crossface and the diving headbutt and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that came at the request of WWE.
Okay.
But again, that's like in extreme cases. When Hulk Hogan was removed, the same thing. Get rid of anything that is, patently and, plainly his. Okay. Which obviously, a lot of his motions you can just tell. It's like, well, that's Hogan. Like, you got to get rid of that. The cupping of the ears, the leg drops, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, extreme cases. If a superstar wrestler is released and they're no longer in the game, we keep this stuff. We change the name.
Yeah.
If it's a name closely associated with that wrestler, but barring some like horrific or just embarrassing incident involving that wrestler, no, there isn't any pushback.
Okay, all right. Now you were also talking about when you first started working or doing collaborations with Yukes. When did you switch over from THQ to Yukes? Like, how did that happen?
So I joined Yukes in 2015. Mm-hmm. So I was with TSU up until the day that they closed their doors. Me and my team, the wrestling team, and we actually, and that was a trip. That last day at THQ was a trip. Mm-hmm. It was like the last day of school when you're in high school, where everybody's just there on campus, not really giving a fuck.
Yeah.
But also very somber. Mm. It was pretty crazy. Everybody's walking around the halls, just taking equipment, and people just drinking beers and just kind of it was strange. Mm. but after that, 2K, they took over the license. So the WWE license, and then took the WWE team on as well.
Okay.
So we basically just transitioned, myself and the rest of the team transitioned from being TSU employees to 2K employees. And once that transition happened, we stayed working out of our office in Agoura Hills for, I want to say, another month and a half, 2 months before we moved into a 2K facility in North Hills, which is actually very close to where I was living at the time, which was dope for me because my drive to Agoura Hills was about 30 minutes, and my commute went from 30 minutes to about 5 minutes, so that was cool.
Yeah.
And we were, but even that was at a temporary location because that was like a two-way facility for them, but they just needed some place for us. Mm-hmm. And we were there finishing up WWE 14 at the time. Mm-hmm. I remember I had been sent on a press tour to Europe, and I had to go. I was in London, Germany, and a couple of other places. Like just kind of trying to sell the 2K14, present it to the journalists and everything. And I remember coming back, Corey telling me that I know you're just getting back from your trip. You must be tired, but we really need you in the office early tomorrow morning. Because typically on a trip like that, when you come back, especially like an international thing, the boss will give you leeway. It's like, sleep in, take your time, get into the office whenever you can. But I remember Corey, specifically saying you got to get there early. We're having like a meeting, like 2K is going to be here, they have some information for us. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. So I got in that next day and early, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this motherfucker Corey told me to be here early and he's not even here. And I woke my ass up, and so all of us are all there, and I'm looking, but I'm also seeing, these faces that I didn't recognize, so I just attributed that, they must be the people from 2K. Mm-hmm. And so I'm at my desk, and I'm chatting with, coworkers and everything, and all of a sudden I see people being moved into different rooms, mm-hmm. And I'm like, what's going on? I see my coworker Jody, and he's being directed towards the room, so I get up, and I'm following him, because I figure, I guess, go with him. Yeah. And I remember being told that no, you stay, we're going to put you in a different room, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is weird. So they separated people into different rooms, and me and the rest of the guys in my room, we basically just got told what was happening that day. That everyone in the room that we were in, we being 2K, mm-hmm. that they want to retain and keep on the team to keep working on the franchise moving forward. But in order to do that, we're going to need everybody to relocate to Nevada, which is in Northern California, mm-hmm. Near San Francisco, in order to continue working. And basically said, we'll give you guys, time to think the decision through. Anyone who doesn't or chooses not to make the move, will be offered a severance, and we thank you for everything that you've done up to this point. And then they told us that anyone not in this room was let go today. And I was like, oh, shit. So that's why I didn't see Corey, because I think him and the rest of the upper management, they were let go, mm-hmm. earlier in the day before the rest of us got there. Oh, okay. So that was a trip. That was a trip. This was October of 2014. And I remember, obviously I made the decision to go, to stay on, and, made the move to Novato. Me and my girlfriend at the time, or ex-girlfriend at the time, we worked together on the team, on the project. We drove up the day after Thanksgiving, packed up everything, and the day after Thanksgiving, we made the drive from LA up north. And I was with 2K from then on to the end of 2014, which, my time at 2K was 2014 was the hardest time of my life. Not for, my mother passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you, man. Unexpectedly, in April. of that year, which was something that was, like I said, unexpected and really, like I was already unhappy at 2K. Just, the fit wasn't right.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and it really, it devastated me. And my mom was in Denver at the time, so when I got the news, I flew out to Denver, and not thinking that she was gonna pass, but she did. And I remember I went back home and I told everybody at work that, look, I gotta take some time. I've got some things I need to do. So I was actually gone for 2 months during the production of, and we were doing 2K15 at the time.
Okay.
And I stepped away and had to take care of of real life shit.
Yeah.
And I came back to finish up the game, and I remember coming back, and honestly, I remember coming back, and there was a mocap shoot.
Okay.
And this was when, I don't even know if you remember this, but they did this making of video for 2K15. I think GameSpot, that website, was doing it. It's like a multi-part
I remember
thing.
watching that.
Brought in Cesaro, Paul Heyman, Sami Zayn, Pac was back, again, and I'm there and I'm directing, and I'm the type of guy. I'm not gonna outwardly show my emotion.
Yeah.
Because I did the time and the place, and I like to think of myself as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a professional. So as much as I was just,
you wasn't really there.
My insides were, I was just crushed on the inside. I had to put on that happy face when I'm there and I'm on set, directing all this stuff. It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking, during breaks, this sounds so pathetic, but I'd go to the bathroom and I just had to cry sometimes, just to let some shit out.
No, I understand that.
But I just wanted to be a trooper, wanted to be a professional. My mom was very proud of me and, what I had done. And me going, and I felt that maybe I had gone back too early, but I just wanted to do right by my mom, and she was always so proud of, what I had done with my career. So I kind of was doing it for her, but yeah, man, it was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and it's like, even with me, like, I had my stepfather died when I was 19, and I was so used to seeing him.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it was like, I remember I used to get off of work every day. I used to work at Dunkin' Donuts, and I used to get off work every day and walk past his job just to go chill with him for a little bit. And I remember the day that he passed, I woke up. Him and my mother weren't no longer together, but I still considered him my stepfather.
Yeah.
I woke up and I felt sick to my stomach, and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, I always say I had an iron stomach. Like, nothing would make me sick. Like, I only threw up twice in my life. That's it. And this was when I was like a little kid. After that, nothing could make me throw up. I could see something nasty, I'm fine. But this day I was just like, oh my goodness, like, something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong. I don't know what it is. I worked the whole day. Mind you, I'm at work at Dunkin' Donuts in the food retail, and I feel like I gotta throw up the whole time. So I'm just holding it in. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Something is wrong. I gotta get out of work. Did the full shift. And right when I got out of work, that's when I found out he died in his sleep. And I was so devastated. It was just like, I'm a kid, and I'm like, I have to put on a strong face and still go to work and just find a way to just keep on going, because I wanted to move out my mother's place. I wanted to, have my own spot. Like, I'm getting older. I'm, turning into a man, so I'm ready to go. So, but I understand. I completely understand. It was like times where I had to walk away from the register and just go in the bathroom and just like let it out, because it was just like, I don't know how to handle this. Like, this is new to me, It's different if it's like, I had a grandfather who died, and it's like he lived a full life. So it was like, worst case scenario, looking at it, or best case scenario, he lived a full life, and you're not going to live forever. But when it just happened so immediately to somebody who was, in their 50s, it's like, oh, wow, like, I'm not ready for that, And so I completely understand how you feel with like about that, and it's like having to take time. I completely understand that.
So I mean, your stepfather, he wasn't, it was an unexpected happen as well. Like he wasn't sick or
Nothing.
as far as you knew.
Nothing. He was at work every single day. Even like he had a broken leg, he would still go to work all the time. Never would call out. Never. Like one of the most hardest working people I've ever known. I mean, did so much for me. I mean, got me a go-kart, multiple bikes. I mean, got me my first PlayStation. Like everything. I mean, was
he was
definitely
your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And like you said, it's the unexpectedness of it that just adds even more to the pain and the grief that you're going through. Because for me, and I'm sure for you, you can relate. Like there was so much shock involved too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no.
And you don't believe it.
I'm like, no.
You can't.
Like,
believe
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh, brother, I'm really sorry to hear that, man. But we understand each other.
Yeah.
And that's a level of pain where. I mean, I don't like to think that I have any enemies, but like if I did, like I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Because it burns a hole in you where it's like you can't operate normally. Like you can't eat. You lost your hunger. Like you're not hungry. You can't sleep, and it's like you want to be able to do it, but you just can't because it's just that loss. It's like a piece of you that went away too. So I definitely like understand that, and I tell people that all the time. It's like when people have both their parents, I say, listen, man, y'all don't know how like lucky you are. Like one of mine was taken away when I was a kid, and I mean I have pictures of him when I was like 3 years old. Like he was literally there, like from, I mean, when I was a baby, basically. He stepped in, took care of me and my sister. So, no, I definitely understand how you feel. And it's like, it's even something that I think about to this day. Like, so, no, I definitely understand. Yeah. But, let's turn the page a little bit. So now you're working for Yukes and you're also working with 2K. How did you, how did you feel about it? Like, did you feel like you were pigeonholed more, working in cahoots with them? Were there certain things that you wanted to do that they said, no, that's not our plans or anything like that?
Are you talking about like as far as like me working with Yukes now and then also working with 2K?
Well, yeah, once you, once
I made
THQ
the switch.
folded and now you're with Yukes, but, working with 2K, how, I mean, like after a little bit of time went past, did you find yourself pigeonholed or feeling like you wasn't able to be as creative as you could be with the game?
So here's the thing. Like, this is a question that I see debated a lot, like on like Twitter and other like social forums and everything. That like this whole like how the whole dynamic of the relationship, and I'll break it down. So the way that, I'm going to lump. I mean, so. Do my best to explain this best as properly as I can. So THQ, when they were around, and 2K now, being the publisher, they are the ones who hold the rights to the WWE license. So it's theirs. Yukes is the contracted developer that is hired by the publisher with THQ 2K to then build and develop the game based off of the license that the publisher is holding.
Okay. So
to that end, the license holder, whether it was THQ back in the day, 2K now, they have in this, at least in this relationship, they have the authority on both sides. They have the creative league and everything else. And Yukes we are the contractors. We are the ones that are given instruction, and then we build. Now, with that being said, when we were still doing the WWE game, us being Yukes, of course, and even when I was at THQ, collaborating with Yukes, of course, it's a partnership where both sides present their creative visions, their ideas. Yukes submits their ideas, and everybody kind of takes everybody's ideas, and it's the publisher that has, you know, final control, is the yay or nay decision maker on what's implemented and what's not. And that's been the case, you know, back when THQ was the publisher, and it's the case, or was the case when we were working with 2K as the publisher. So sometimes they will take an idea from Yukes, they being, you know, whoever the publisher was. A lot of times they wouldn't, because it's the publisher that wants to drive the creative. So yes, working with Yukes and submitting ideas, you know, gameplay ideas, modes, anything. At first it was frustrating because it was difficult for me being on the development side and no longer having the more of the control and sway that the publishing side had. So there were a lot of times where, yeah, you know, whether it was myself or, you know, other members of the Yukes team would submit stuff, and, you know, and it wouldn't get, you know, implemented, or they would pass on it. But, you know, it took me a while to get used to that. But once that dynamic was, you know, I got used to it. It was like, look, you know, I was kind of, you know, relying to the fact where it was like, look, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy, you know, writing game designs, and I know that I'm a creative individual. So I just leaned into that, and it was like, if it gets in, it gets in. If not, that's cool too, because at the end of the day, like, I know that this is dope, and if they don't see it, then, you know, they make those decisions, and, you know, hopefully it was one that was good for them. But that's how the relationship operates. And yeah, even when I was at THQ, and we having to, you know, presenting ideas to whether it was Corey or, you know, the top decision makers, you know, a lot of times, you know, some things got through, some things didn't. But yeah, I mean, but that in a nutshell is how that relationship works.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even say it's a case of like anybody being held back.
Yeah.
It's just that as a developer, you know, the situation was just different, where we were the contracted developer and they had the final say. And, you know, obviously when it comes to things of a creative nature, things are subjective.
Yeah.
You know, but I will say that, you know, in anything that we do moving forward, we, you know, being Yukes, I mean, like my boss, you know, Haromia said in her article that was released a couple of months back, you know, whatever new thing we get into, you know, we are going to be the decision makers as far as the creative side goes. And this is something that we hold strongly to.
Yeah.
And it's something that our potential partners also see as a value. So I'm excited just in that front, where it's like now we can kind of get back to what it is we do without having to be subservient. That kind of sounds too harsh, but without, you know.
But I mean, 2K is a conglomerate, you know what I'm saying? So I can understand.
Yeah. but essentially, yeah, we can basically develop the game that we want to make, and we'll have full kind of creative control. So that's an exciting prospect for us, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and it's, all of us are. But you know what? Just to give you like a perspective from the outside looking in, like I remember playing the wrestling games on the 360, and then 2K15 came out on Xbox One, and I bought the game off the rip because I'm like, okay, new graphics. I'm pretty sure it's gonna have new this, new that, bunch of matches, everything. I was like, they got this for 360, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go get the 360 one. And I was just so, I mean, I was hit when I played 2K15 on Xbox One. I was just like, this game has nothing. This game, like, I couldn't create a wrestler in that game to save my life. I created one wrestler, and it was like an alternate attire for Bray Wyatt when he was like, when he was his first gimmick when he was in NXT. And I was like, I'm done. I'm going back to 360. Yeah, I couldn't play it. That's the one wrestling game that I could not play, was 2K15 on Xbox One. 2K15 on 360, cool. And it, like, even to me, like with THQ, I felt like THQ, and this is from the outside looking in, I felt like THQ gave you guys more creative freedom because the games were so fun and it had so much. Like, for an example, Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth. These are widely regarded as some of the best wrestling games ever. And these games came out 10, 20 years ago. There's a reason why. Is because I feel like you guys were given so much creative control to make this the best wrestling game. It could be zany. You'll fight in Times Square, throw them off a helicopter. Who can make the game fun? It's like you guys were able to submit more stuff, and okay, cool, no problem. And I feel like now with I think 2K is more like simulation based, and they want a controlled environment to where it really replicates what you see on TV. When it's like, we enjoy what we see on TV, but we don't want to buy a game and just be stuck with that. So I feel like THQ definitely gave you guys more creative freedom as opposed to 2K, and I mean it kind of shows. I mean, if I can play Here Comes the Pain on PlayStation 2 for hours, and then I'm playing 2K for an hour, maybe 45 minutes, that shows. So I can definitely, on my end, without you having to say it, I feel like THQ gave you guys more freedom than 2K.
Well, here's the thing. You are right. Like you mentioned, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain. One of the those early SmackDown games, and you're right. That was, Yukes definitely had more. They have far more creative control over those games, and it shows. I mean, as you can see.
Yeah.
And it was. I'm going to say it was probably beginning with that first SmackDown versus Raw. And then definitely leading into SmackDown versus Raw 2006, that the creative reins started to be applied more so on the publishing side and less so on the youth side. And I think that's when you start to see that split, because there is a pretty big, maybe not big split, but there's a difference between. It's almost like a line of demarcation between Here Comes the Pain and then SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah.
And that's attributed to THQ, the management, the decision makers, the creative decision makers, exerting more influence over the creative and minimizing, the creativity and influence of youth. And that has been the through line ever since. And I'm not even saying that's a good or a bad thing, because look, I mean, I worked on these games, where the creativity was on us being THQ. So, but that is the thing, and it was one of the things where they wanted to, even at THQ, they wanted to try to lean in on more of the sim side. And 2K now definitely does.
Yeah.
And look, I hear both sides. I mean, there are some people who really favor that simulation heavy aspect of the gameplay. And then, of course, there are those who don't. And I see both. I mean, I think the one thing that, for those who aren't a fan of the sim-heavy stuff, I think it's magnified, if only because there's no other alternative, product, where it's like, you can't, like, it might be one thing to have, okay, this game is the sim. I can deal with that. I can like it for what it is, because, at the end of the day, if I want something a little more kind of old school or arcadey, I can play this. So you kind of have that balance. And I think with there only being the one AAA wrestling title, it's almost like if you don't like that sim heavy approach, you kind of, and you're a wrestling fan and you're a gamer, you kind of throw your hands up, and it's like, damn, I just want to. I'm tired of dusting off my PS2 and N64 games just to play the type of wrestling game that I want.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the state of things, but. I enjoy. I mean, I'll just say this about 2K15, and I know that a lot of people weren't happy with that game. And from a player side, a gamer side, I understand.
Yeah.
It definitely was light of a lot of features that were in it previously, but I mean, honestly, without getting too in the weeds and stuff, I mean, a lot of that was just attributed to the development schedule. I mean, that whole year, the transition of the team. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just kind of stating facts and stuff. And then honestly, just anytime you're making that migration onto a new console, it's always going to be a process, and it certainly was a process for us. Me personally, just personally speaking, like I look at 2K15 and the Xbox One, PS4, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of it. More so for personal reasons, because I look at that game and like all the shit that I had to go through personally just to kind of help get that thing out the door.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a personal achievement. But obviously, yes, from the game side, as a player, as a consumer, yeah, I mean, it was definitely light on a lot of features. But yeah, and I guess it was what it was.
Yeah. I mean, as wrestling fans, we're kind of stuck because we're gonna get it because it's what's only available, and it's understand. Like I say every year, like as much as I can complain about a game, the one game I know I'm going to get is a WWE game. I have to get a wrestling game. I have to. Like I'm a wrestling fan through in and out. I watch everything, so it's my, me being able to get the game is me being able to create these wrestlers to show them off to the world. And with the platform that I feel like I have, it's like Wrecking Ball. Like he was on Ring of Honor. He wrestled around, like he got trained by Bully Ray. So I'm like, okay, I met him at an indie event at Northeast Wrestling, and it was so cool because at the end of the show, he's standing at the door shaking people's hands as they leave, which I thought was like so cool, and that, it just showed like he was a real person, and I appreciated that. And it was just like, okay, well, let me try to make a video, put you out there, make a call of you. Like I did that with him, Vinny Marseglia,
nice.
ACH. Like even ACH, when he came out with the Tiger Mask attire, he sent me the pictures of it before he wore it, and he was like, "Don't make the call of me until after I have the match." So I have like these little relationships with these wrestlers to where it's like, they respect the work, and I'm so appreciative that they like even Lindsay Dorado, he retweeted some of the stuff. Like I sent him logos so he can create an updated attire for himself on PlayStation. Like I try to like just sow my DNA within the call community, and just not only that with wrestlers. Like RVD followed me off of me creating a wrestler for him, or of him, not for him because I don't think he plays the game, but just like even Matt Taven, Vinny Marseglia, TK O'Ryan, a lot of different wrestlers. Conan even shouted me out on his podcast, which I thought was really cool.
No way.
Yeah, man. He hit me up, like he sent me a DM like, yo, like, can I shout you out or whatever? I'm like, hell yeah. Like by all means, sir. I would appreciate that. For real. But yeah, man, like, okay, so what I wanted to do now is just talk about the current landscape of wrestling and what you feeling, what you're not feeling. Now, I know with WWE, I guess it's sort of PG still or not, but what are your thoughts on AEW? Like what they've been doing their last couple of shows and also the All Out?
I love what AEW is doing. I really do. Just first of all, I'm a good indicator of talent. I really am. Not to again toot my own horn, but toot. I remember like everybody's going crazy about Buddy Murphy now. I remember I sent out a tweet in 2015. I remember I was in Japan and I was doing research on him for his moveset, and I watched about 10 of his matches. On the Indies when he was Matt Silva, and I was like, dude, if once he's able to show and get out of his tag team with Wesley Blake, I'm thinking to myself, once he's able to show this side of himself, this dude's a talent. And I remember sitting down at that tweet talking about, hey, keep your eye out for Buddy Murphy. He's gonna be something special. Took a while, but people are finally starting to see it. But I say that because I remember when Cody Rhodes debuted in WWE, and I remember everybody thinking at the time that it was Ted DiBiase Jr. that was going to be the breakout star of the two of them.
I'm going to be honest. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people did. I didn't. I just saw something special in Cody. Rose at the time, and especially him coming in, teaming with Hardcore Holly. He just had, he just had a way about him. And it's not, he's a good wrestler. He's not going to wow you so much with his deep moveset. But he's got all these other intangibles. Like, I thought his facial expressions were always really good. His timing was really good. He just had a certain knack for things. And I was, always a fan of him. And in WWE, like, no matter what kind of silly gimmick they gave him, whether it was the dashing Cody Rhodes, and then when he was putting the garbage, the brown paper bags on people's
that was wonderful
heads in the front row.
I loved that.
So did I. Like, in lesser hands, this thing would not have gotten over to the degree that it did. But anytime he was given one of these gimmicks, he just struck it out of the ballpark. And even the Stardust thing, and he didn't like it, but he leaned into it, and he made that something special. So when he left WWE in 2015, after his father passed, first of all, I understood where he was coming from, because I could tell he was unhappy with where he was, and he was just like, you know what, life is too short. I gotta do me now, and I can do better than what I'm currently doing. So I've been a supporter of him in a huge way from the beginning, and when he left and started doing his indie stuff, like, I was, trying to order every kind of show that I could to see him on the indies. I saw him in PWG when he did a stop there. And of course, like, I've loved the Young Bucks since day one, the first time I saw him in PWG. And I remember the first time I saw him, this was like, PWG was so great in terms of instilling in me not to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time that I saw Pac, and I was like, this guy, who was this pasty dude running around with the name Pac? I was like offended as a Tupac fan. I'm like, who is this guy?
You know what? I'm gonna say the same thing. I felt this. I'm like, why? Who would see to say his name is Pac? Like, what is it? Like, what is he trying to do here?
Yeah. But all it took was to see him wrestle, and I'm like, all right, Brian, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. And the same thing was with the Young Bucks, because I remember the first time I saw them. First of all, this was back when, I don't know if you remember this, but in PWG, they used to come out to Bop. You remember that song?
Okay, so I'm about to be 33 this year, so I'm not that far off from you.
Okay.
I remember getting what was the DVDs I used to buy? Oh man, this is bad. I used to have DVDs. Oh my goodness, it was like RF Video or
RF, yeah.
Yeah, it was something else. Ringside something. But I remembered. I was like, that is like the Hansons. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just heat generated. I'm like, what the? And then they come out, and they're on the small side, not overly muscular, and they got tassels. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Like, these guys are wrestlers?
Yeah.
But just like Pac, and I don't even know who they were wrestling at the first time I saw them. But all of within 4 minutes, I was like, okay, that's it, Brian. Never again. I'm never judging any of these guys until I see them in the ring. Because I became a fan immediately. Like, these guys are doing shit that was just out of this world. And my jaw was on the ground the entire time. So I love all what, the fact that these guys got together, Cody and the Bucks and Omega. I think just for being a fan, I think, again, you're talking about options. It gives fans another option. It, highlights pro wrestling in a way that, it really hasn't been in a long time, at least on the mainstream side with them having the TNT deal. So I'm really stoked about it. I ordered Double or Nothing and had a house full of people, most of them who hadn't watched wrestling in forever, and they were all just like blown away by that show. Like a lot of people, I wasn't a big fan of their early pre-shows. Like, that kind of worried me, if I'm being honest. I mean, that pre-show at Double or Nothing, it kind of, I don't know, the tone seemed off, because they kept talking about how they wanted to do this more sports-like presentation and this, that, and the other, and that pre-show was a little too kind of, it felt, especially the pre-show of Double or Nothing, that Battle Royal they had, it was a little too gimmicky, and it felt a little too WWE comedy for me, and I was like, no, guys, this is not what I want. I thought you guys were going to be the opposite of this. But thankfully, once the actual pay-per-view started, it was exactly what I expected and what I want from them. Mm-hmm. So I am so looking forward to October 2nd. And actually, I'm going to All Out with some buddies of mine. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan of AEW. They've got a really good roster going. Yeah, I mean, and now we got a Wednesday Night War, which to me really isn't much of a war, just personally, because as soon as I heard that, because I love NXT, as much as I will criticize like the WWE main roster shows, and honestly, look, I don't do it, just cause. I mean, I really do think that they need to tighten up their booking and their creative on those shows. Mm-hmm. But NXT is amazing, man. I love NXT.
Yeah.
And honestly, like NXT to me, like if AEW can present a product that is similar to NXT, even a little bit, I think that's a win. I mean, as long as I would much rather AEW be more akin to that show than anything that we see on Raw and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. So when they made the announcement that NXT was going to USA, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, look, I mean, if they're going to force me to choose, I'm going to watch AEW because they're new.
Yep.
I like the talent. Not that I don't like the talent in NXT, but I just figured that I could always be able to watch it on the WWE Network anyway. So once they said that, yes, it'll be on, the day after, that Thursday, NXT, I'm like, oh, well, that's perfect because that's when I watch NXT anyway. I never watch NXT on Wednesdays now. I always watch it Thursday morning when I come into the office. So for me, it doesn't change anything for my Wednesday. So I'll check out AEW and then I'll check out NXT the next day. Yep. So I'm really excited for this, man. This is really fun, and I hope that both of these shows do well in the ratings. I think they will.
But I mean,
for a lot of stuff that I've read, because I read the Observer and stuff. Like Dave Meltzer has been reporting that there really isn't that much crossover with these two audiences either. I think there's an expectation that AEW is going to pull all these WWE fans to them, but from everything that I've read that Meltzer's reported is that crossover is not as great as I think a lot of people expected it to be, which I find interesting, But yeah, so again, it'll be. So I think both shows will do well for themselves in the ratings, and I think that's great for the talent. I think especially the wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Having friends that wrestle in WWE now and elsewhere, I think it's good for them. It'll increase their value. It'll give them more leverage when it comes time to negotiate. And I'm always on the boys' side. And that's the thing too. Like when it comes to promotions, like I don't wave a flag for any promotion. Like I'm on the side of talent, and it's the same way that I feel about teams, like professional teams. Like I'm a Laker fan, but when it comes to like a management versus player type thing, I'm usually always going to take the side of the player versus management or the ownership group, and that's kind of how I feel about promotions. Where it's like, yes, treat your guys right, but I'm always going to be on the side of the wrestlers. So this is good for them. So yeah, I can't wait, brother.
Yeah, me neither. And it's like, I want them to come to Connecticut. Honestly, they need to run a show right here in downtown Hartford. Like, that's what they need to do, and show WWE that they can sit there and put on a better product, because it's only going to make everybody better. If they go to war, quote unquote, war with each other, it's only going to make both companies put out all the stops, and the people who benefit from it is us. So I mean, by all means, go to war, please. Please do.
Yeah.
We need to see it because it's getting stale.
It's getting stale. Yeah. And you're right. And this is going to be good for everybody. It's going to be good for the rest. It's going to be good for the fans. And maybe, as much as even probably Vince McMahon wouldn't admit this, it's going to be good for WWE. Because like you said, I mean, even, like I can see AEW's influence on the product already, just in terms of, like, Raw the past couple of weeks has been a little bit better than it's been in the past, the recent past. And I think a large part of that is due to the fact that it's like, hey, we got competition now. We really got to, dot the I's, cross our T's, and really kind of button some of this stuff up. So, Raw, I've seen improvements with Raw. SmackDown is strangely enough, kind of got a little worse for me. Like, this whole Roman Reigns thing is kind of silly.
Yeah, I don't think they know what to do with it.
Yeah, the whole, like, I'm a big New Japan fan. Like, for me, and again, this is all subjective, but I like my pro wrestling presented in a more sports-like fashion, and that's one of the reasons why I love New Japan's product. For me, the one thing I really kind of don't like about WWE is that, look, I know of course, you got to have storylines. Even New Japan has storylines, but their storylines are all kept within this sports-like world.
And they're more simplistic.
And it's more simplistic because when you start introducing elements like, vehicular homicide and stuff like that, I'm like, come on, what? I mean, at this point, like, my head, it's like, how is this going to resolve itself in a ring? You're trying to kill this man. It's like, and then Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan are out, kidnapping people and bringing them to the shows and blindfolded or putting bags on the people's heads. And I'm like, okay, first of all, like, why is Daniel Bryan leading investigations into this? Like, where are the cops? Someone's trying to kill Roman Reigns at his place of employment. It's just, those kind of stories are just, that's just kind of, for me personally, a little too beyond the pale for what, how I like my wrestling, It's like, you tried to murder me, so let's go settle this in the ring. It's like, no, fuck you, man. I'm taking your ass to prison.
Yo, for real. But you know what? You brought up a good point, and let's go to that. Let's talk about New Japan. Like, so, okay, here's my issue with New Japan, and I'm gonna go to, and I made a video on this already. I feel like Kenta brought back new life in the Bullet Club that Switchblade couldn't. Do you agree or disagree with that?
See, okay. On the surface, yeah, you know what? I would agree with that. Jay White is a really, really good wrestler. A really, really good wrestler. A really, really good wrestler whose matches I typically do not want to watch, which is strange. I mean, I'll just I see the talent is there. He's really good. That match, that G1 Finals between him and Ibushi was just incredible. I mean, and the fact that he's got so much, he is a heel through and through. Like, people hate that man, and he plays into that fantastically. Because, again, he's good at what he does. But there is something about him that, unless it's of a match of such magnitude, like a G1 final or something like that, he's someone who, as good as he is, I typically, I don't really want to see his matches. So yeah, and this angle that they just ran with Kenta, and I love Kenta. Like, he's my dude. Like, he's my favorite Japanese wrestler probably ever. And, him and his whole time in WWE was unfortunate, the injuries and all that.
It was terrible.
I felt bad for him. Yeah. But yeah, he's got a new lease on life in New Japan, and that angle they ran between him and Shibata, him turning on him and joining Bullet Club, it's given Bullet Club a fresh new lease on life, an injection of some a much needed injection of some energy. Because it kind of felt, Bullet Club was just starting to flounder a bit, So no, I'd agree with that.
So okay, so what about, like, how do you, like, okay, so you stayed in Japan. Fans take wrestling, I know, more seriously, or take it as more like, like a sport in Japan. But was it, like, different for you to be, like, in the crowd and it's like how fans react to wrestling as opposed to, like, in the States? Like, was it, like, strange to you? Like, man, they're, like, way quiet here. Like, what is this?
Initially, yeah. Like, back when I went to my first show, that Pro Wrestling Noah show that I mentioned in 2006, it was, it was strange because at first, and like in 2006, I'd only been in Japan. That might have been my second or third time. Here we are in 2019, and I've gone through 2 passport books in that time. I've been to Japan so many times.
Wow.
So, Japan's like my second home. So early on, it was strange, but I get it, or I got it. Japan just culturally, they're different in terms of like when you're in an audience, especially with wrestling. It's not that they don't or they won't get excited, but they just they pop for different things, and they just want to. And more than anything else, like them being quiet is them being kind of just more respectful to what's going on in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in Japan in July for 2 weeks. So I sent that tweet that got me in trouble. I was in Japan and I was there for 2 weeks, and in that time I went to 3 G1 shows. And I can't say, the crowds have definitely gotten more Americanized than compared to back in 2006. They're still not as, I guess, not as loud or as vocal as American crowds, but definitely far more than they have been. And I think a lot of that is attributed to, of course, the G1 being what it is, and just New Japan just being a hot product right now in Japan, especially obviously. So it's different, but it's still vocal. And the guys that I go with, my coworkers and my friends at Yukes, they are very much of the they like to chant a lot. That's like they love that about American wrestling. So they'll often try to start chants in the crowd. And sometimes if you're watching the New Japan World, like anytime it kind of does quiet down. I'm sure if a chant kicks off, it's more than likely my homeboy Kuge-san trying to get something started because he's very vocal, very loud. But no, I love watching wrestling in Japan, and the best thing about it, though, honestly, is that the concessions, the food, the beers, are the same prices as they are outside of the arena. Maybe a little bit more, but you're not going to be paying $20 for a beer, $16 for a beer.
Wow.
And on top of that, they allow you to bring in outside food and drink. So every time we go to see wrestling, the first thing we do, we hit the convenience store. I'll get some beers, some snacks, and spend about $10 at the convenience store, and then take that into the arena and just have ourselves a little wrestling party. So that's really cool.
But okay, so what do you think New Japan has to do to really build their brand in America? I mean, because we saw what happened in Texas where it wasn't really full, the arena wasn't really full. So I mean, what, in your opinion, what do you think New Japan has to do to really become a global wrestling promotion?
Yeah, man, that is a really good question. I wondered that myself because their product is so good, and when I saw that that event they had in was it Dallas?
Dallas, yeah.
For G1, it was sad seeing all those empty seats, but at the same time, the fans that were there were so into that product. I did a podcast before, and this topic came up, and I think a couple of things. I think they need to be very surgical in where they choose to run shows.
Yes.
When they announced that show in Dallas and at that arena, I thought to myself, New Japan in Dallas, I just don't know if that was the right city for them. And it's no disrespect to, of course I'm sure they got fans in Texas and Dallas, of course. I mean, obviously they do.
Yeah.
But then to run an arena of that size, I think they probably would have been more well off to have done it in a smaller space. But I remember reading something, I think it was Access Television that wanted them to run there for their television. So that could have had something to do with it. Mark Cuban owns Access, and it was in his arena. So that could have had something to do with it, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, I think they got to be more surgical with where they choose to run shows. I know they do very well here in LA. In fact, they're having an event in Long Beach tomorrow. The Super J Cup tournament is going on right now. beyond that, I think they also need to do a better job of, like, when they do announce shows, like, they need to do better about announcing, matches. Like, get out of the gate hot. It's not enough to say, we're going to be here. You've got to say, we're going to be here, and this is our main event, or this is one of our top matches. Like, they were very slow to announce a lineup for Dallas, which I think might have hurt it, because, at the end of the day, the main event was, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Okada. That's a huge freaking match, especially here, in America.
But we've seen
if they might have... What's that?
But we've seen that match before.
We've seen it, but it's one thing to... But in America, to be able to see them go at it live, because, I mean, like, I've seen them wrestle a whole bunch of times in Japan, but, a lot of folks don't have that luxury or ability to. And when you can, promote a match between these two guys and I mean, look, for me, I get it. Yeah, I've seen them wrestle so many times. I'm like, yes, I know this will be good, but just for other fans, it's like, yeah, if I can get a ticket and go see them live, I mean, that's something that as a wrestling fan, I gotta jump on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they gotta do a better job of, like, letting people know at least some of the matches for their shows, and also they gotta freaking advertise this shit, man.
Yeah,
honestly, that is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's true. Cause I remember, I'm like, I don't even know what matches are happening. Like, what? Like, okay, yeah, the main event, like you were saying, but even on my end, I'm like, I don't think I should even buy the pay-per-view. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I seen that match happen. I know they had a great match, but it's like, how many times you want to see Stone Cold and The Rock go at it? It's like, okay, I'm good. I'm okay. Like, I've seen that. So I think it is that. And I think they need to stick to coastlines first and work their way in.
Yes.
Yes,
like, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly about that. Yeah, they gotta, because I look at New Japan, and then you look at what AEW has done since they announced themselves in January, and how New Japan, like AEW's early success. Of course, I mean, it really is remarkable considering the fact that outside of, look, Cody Rhodes is someone that maybe has some mainstream awareness with wrestling fans. Mm-hmm. But the Young Bucks, of course we know them. We're diehards. We live in this world. The Kenny Omegas, but these they weren't like mainstream guys.
No. But
yet and still, they were able to galvanize a fan base through the use of social media and their savvy marketing. Like, they're really good at that shit, and New Japan isn't. And I think that's one other way where they could help themselves, they being New Japan, to kind of help get and spread the word about their product, is that I think they need to get better at their social media. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that means, maybe, hiring someone from outside to kind of spearhead that. Or maybe they got somebody inside. And I know Rocky Romero does a lot for that office. I don't know how good he is with social and kind of getting stuff out there, but I think that would help and go a long way. Because they're a niche product in the States, but that niche, they have a niche fan base. Yeah. But that fan base is loyal and is big enough to at least sell out a mid-sized arena.
Absolutely.
So that's a good place to start. So it's like, to grow that though, just I just get better with your social, kind of do some viral marketing, kind of, you don't have to spend a lot on this, but just get that word out.
Yeah. Because
I gotta imagine the same people that are following AEW, Ring of Honor, like, of course, especially Ring of Honor, they got a working relationship with New Japan. Mm-hmm. It's like all these things kind of breed in the same circle, and I think New Japan just kind of really needs to be a little more proactive in creating that spatial and carving out spatial, that awareness here in the state. Versus, they kind of treat the states as almost like they don't want to grow it. Like they say they do.
But they got a dojo here, though.
I know, yeah, they do. They do. But they say they want to grow this thing, but they haven't done, like, their actions kind of are contrary to that edict. Like, they haven't done anything to really expand that awareness outside of just announcing they're running these shows. But it's like, well, Okay, but you got to do more than that.
Yeah.
You know.
I think.
I don't know. I think. Go ahead.
Oh well, I think on their end, I feel like they have to invest for their top stars or the stars that they know they want to invest in. Take them give them English classes. I think that's one thing that's really separating them from being not the top because it is what it is, but I mean really expanding the brand and showing off their top stars. Their top stars can't speak English. And I think that's what's going to pigeonhole them in a certain spot until that changes. And I get it. You can't just have an American or a person outside of Japan as their top guy because they're based in Japan. I get that. And Kenny Omega I would think Kenny Omega was the perfect example of someone who can bring New Japan to the masses because he could speak Japanese and English. I feel like if they had Okada able to speak English, Tanahashi, I know Shibata could speak a little bit of English, but I swear if they really said, okay, you know what we're gonna do? Instead of you being on the road all the time, you're gonna do special shows, but in between, you're taking English classes. We need to expand this brand. We need to let everybody know what's going on, who you are. You know what I'm saying? Because it's cool to get commentators who speak English and you're able to understand what's going on, but to the world and to the generic fan who might not know, they have to be able to understand who you are and what you're saying. And I think that's because I could watch a New Japan show and not even have English commentary. Sometimes I feel like the Japanese commentary is better and I don't even know what they're saying. And I'm just watching it because they're excited. But you understand some of the names for the most, well, for me anyway. And it's just I feel like maybe if they spoke English, it would help the brand more. And I think that's what they do in WWE. They tell Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm pretty sure they have Shinsuke Nakamura taking English classes. They did it to Alberto Del Rio, or that's what I heard. I'm pretty sure they're doing that with Kushida. You know what I'm saying? Because they want them to be able to relate or be able to be understood by the fans.
Oh. Yeah, for me, you're probably right in terms of that. I mean, I'm sure that's probably the biggest barrier to a lot of fans is that is the language barrier. I would like to think that shouldn't have to be a roadblock to getting involved with Japan, because I look at it, this way. Yes, these guys can learn English. A lot of them do know some English because they teach it just as part of the regular curriculum in Japan.
Yeah. And
I've heard Okada on Cole Cabana's podcast, and his English is actually, good enough for him to be on that podcast and him not struggle to get his point across.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in 2019, and maybe this is just me talking, but it's the fact that someone doesn't speak English shouldn't be a roadblock as far as them getting over with any crowd, because the UFC has had a lot of their fighters who have not spoken English, and the easy way around that is to use a translator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is one thing where I know Vince McMahon, his whole thing is, if the guys can't, speak English, it's he doesn't know what to do with them. Asuka and Nakamura and all those guys. But there's ways around that. I think that's just him being kind of hard-headed and just kind of stuck in his ways.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, you're probably right. I'm sure. That seems to be the most obvious thing. It is a foreign product, from Japan. No one's speaking English. Mm-hmm. But I just feel that even on. Do you watch the show on Access?
Which New Japan?
New Japan, yeah.
Yeah, no, I watch New Japan. Yeah.
No, the Access show, the one that's on AXS.
No, I don't see that.
Okay, all right. So their television program here that they have on Access, I think. So for me, it's a post-produced show. I think today they're doing the G1 Climax Final on today's episode. So these shows are not live, obviously, but they're also not that long ago. They're usually maybe a week or two after the fact.
Yeah.
But I think that show could be a good, and honestly, I know that it is, because the bar that I go to, I have them I put New Japan on every Friday at 5. And me and this friend of mine who's close to him, it's a local sports bar. Like, he became a fan after he saw me watching it, and he was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, New Japan Pro Wrestling." He's like, "Oh man," he's like, "This looks like is this real, or is this the scripted stuff like WWF?" I'm like, "No, it's still predetermined." And he was like, "No, it's not. They're really hitting each other, man." And so I explained it to him, but now he's a big fan of New Japan, and he's in that bar every Friday. And if it's not on already, he's asking the bartender to put on access for him so he can watch New Japan. But that program is good, but I think it can do a better job of presenting maybe the product better, where kind of taking that hour, and maybe they do this, maybe they don't. If they do, I apologize, but because just have these guys, cut promos, because they do cut these promos, like in these video packages when you watch the New Japan World, and just if you give them time, I mean, just add English subtitles to them. You'll get enough information as far as why these guys are fighting, what their motivations are, because I think that is going to be a better way to go about it than having them speak English, which will be broken, and probably they're not going to be able to come across nearly as well as if they were speaking in their native tongue. A lot of the emotion and all that is kind of lost, and I think if Access would just take that time and just kind of do a better job of getting these vignettes and having them subtitled and just kind of letting people know, what's going on. And again, I'm sure they do that to a degree, but they could probably do a better job. And they could also probably do a better job of getting word out about that show on Access. I know Access has a pretty good reach as far as the number of households it's in. Definitely far more than Pursuit. But it's still on the lower side.
Shots fired.
I mean, but it's Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's a billionaire. It's like, and he's always saying how much he loves wrestling and wants to get involved. I'm like, well, dude, put your money where your mouth is. Like, spread the word of this show, or try to increase its platform a little bit. Because they do have TV here. Which is the funny thing. I always watch the New Japan World, but they do have a weekly show.
Wow. Yeah,
and then they need to use that to promote any event that they have stateside.
That's true.
And,
but I think they got to get on basic television, basic cable. They gotta eventually they gotta make that move.
No, that's the optimum, of course. Yeah, and that's why. And I know apparently there's a lot of bad blood between the folks in AEW and Ring of Honor, or not Ring of Honor, but New Japan. But when I look at Ring of Honor and New Japan and their partnership, Ring of Honor, I don't see what they bring to the table in this partnership with New Japan. If I'm New Japan, I'm like, you guys are not really holding up your end of the weight. You're kind of dragging us down. Like, I think, if I'm New Japan, I'm ending that relationship with Ring of Honor, and I'm mending whatever kind of fences that need to be mended with, the folks at AEW, and I'm creating a partnership with them, and I think that is a win-win for both AEW and New Japan, because like you're saying, it's probably going to be hard for them to get on a mainstream cable network, but if they can form a partnership with AEW and use their television as a platform to spread the word of New Japan, I think that would do. Oh yeah. That would do wonders for increasing their awareness to the larger wrestling fan base out there.
I think that might happen. But it just might take some time.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I really do, because like I said, I mean, they've had this partnership with Ring of Honor for years now, and it always seems that, like New Japan is just bringing more to the table, and it's kind of helping Ring of Honor shows. Like anytime they do a Worlds Collider, when New Japan talent are on those shows, they tend to do far better than when they're not.
True.
Because Ring of Honor is a pretty cold product right now, which is a shame, because I used to love Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it's
for me, Ring of Honor just kind of lost its way.
Yeah, I mean, after that exodus of all the top guys, well, not the top, but, a good portion of guys going to AEW, it was just like, yeah, the writing was kind of, a little bit on the wall with that. Like, okay, well, this might be the downtime. But, I mean, it happens in wrestling, though. I mean, if they're still around within 5 years, I'm pretty sure they'll be okay. They just have to build more stars and really get a better TV deal. Sinclair broadcasting is trash. Like, It's not good. You could barely get it. I have to go on their website to watch their episodes. So,
I watch on Fight TV on that Fight TV app.
Yeah.
Because I don't get Sinclair out here in LA.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't have cable anyway. I cut the cord a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to help Ring of Honor right now, because you're right, they do have a lot of talent on that brand. They need new creative team.
Who's behind their creative? I don't even know anymore.
It's Delirious, Hunter Johnson.
Oh.
And he's been their lead creative guy for 8-9 years now. And I know that he's also got help from other people. I think Bully Ray and a couple other guys are part of that creative team. But Hunter Johnson's the one who makes the final say. He's like the Triple H of the Vince McMahon in terms of creativity, or the creative team over there.
Yeah.
But I just think that he's been there long enough where it's like, dude, all right, you've had a good run, but we need to add a spark to this thing. And thank you for your service, but if I'm Ring of Honor management, it's like you got to bring in some fresh blood, some new ideas, because with the talent they have on that roster, like they shouldn't be as cold as they are right now.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like they shuffling around a lot of stars, just like even with Flip Gordon and him joining Villain Enterprises. I think Marty Scurll needs to take more of a leadership role as opposed to like a 6-man tag team thing. He should be more along the lines of a headliner, because once his contract expires, he's going to AEW unless they put some value in him. I can see that.
Who are you talking about? Flip Gordon, you said?
Marty Scurll. If they don't,
they
don't invest more in him, I mean, the 6-man tag team titles are cool, but if they don't invest more of him being a main event star and possibly a Ring of Honor champion, he's out. I don't see him staying.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, when he was at that MSG event during WrestleMania weekend where it was that triple threat, right? It was Taven, Skrull, and Jay Lethal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I did a prediction show with a buddy of mine about this match, and I had predicted, I'm like, look, it's got to be Marty. He's like their hottest act right now. Yeah. And I know, I mean, at that time, like, of course, people were talking about, his contract not, expiring, like, in the fall or whatever. But I'm like, look, if I'm Ring of Honor, I'm not worrying about someone's contract ending in the fall. I'm trying to boost my brand, my promotion, and put our best foot forward. If that means that we only have Marty for the next 5 to 6 months, so be it. I'm going to get the most out of him as I can. Mm-hmm. And I kind of convinced myself that he's got to win this, And when they put the belt on Taven, I was just like, all right. And no disrespect to Taven. He's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's MSG. I just felt that by putting the title on Marty, like you're making a statement that this is our dude. He's part of the coolest faction they got right now in Villain Enterprises. Mm-hmm. I'm like, run with that. Run with him. Because I mean, to book him in the way that they are, with the expectation that he's not going to sign, it's just foolhardy. It's like, well, maybe he won't, but he's yours now. So
do something.
So get the best out of him. Yeah.
For real.
Because I agree. I think if his contract, if it comes up and everybody expects it to, of course he's going to go to AEW. Like,
of course. That's
like,
what
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. They got to do something with him now. Like, but you know what? We have so many options of things that we could watch as far as wrestling goes. It's like, let's just enjoy the ride. Because I know, regardless of what's going to happen, I think Marty Scurll is going to be in AEW. Even if he's a former Ring of Honor champion, he'll be in AEW. I honestly think that's going to happen. But I mean, I still watch it. Like I said, I still enjoy watching the Briscoes. Like, the Briscoes are nuts. I don't even know. Like, they are out of their minds, man. They are crazy. I love watching them. I love listening to their promos. Like, their promos.
I was going to say, they're the best promos.
Because it's so
as good as they are in the ring, their promos are equal or maybe even better, man. Like I love hearing those dudes cut promos because they honestly, when people talk about promos and who's the best and this kind of thing, like these two guys, Mark and Jay, they're underrated in that aspect. Like
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't put them in that conversation, but they should be.
Yeah,
because they just come across as just real, man. Like you just believe everything that they say.
I think they feel 100. Like I feel like that's them. Like that's not a character. That's them. Like
yeah.
And it comes out, and it's like 11-time tag team. Like I feel like for them, because they're such a great tag team, they deserve to be on the main stage. And I'm not even talking about like WWE. I'm just saying in general that because they're regarded by wrestling purist fans or purist wrestling, whatever, however you say it. But they should be able to be promoted as that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Ring of Honor is just not big enough for them. Like I just feel like they're not able to really show how great that tag team is. And that's the one thing that sucks. Like, and it's like, I'm pretty sure they'll be lifelong Ring of Honor guys, and that's great. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like they will never be considered one of the best because they haven't really been anywhere else. And I mean, I don't know. Just one of my thoughts about the Briscoes. But I mean, they're still great to watch. I've been watching them for years. I was watching them even when Jay Briscoe turned and was champion, and that was great. I was so happy to see him as champion.
I love that. Me too.
That was like, I was like, you know what? He deserves it. And he was a great champion too. Like, that's why I'm so surprised he's back in a tag team. I was just like, okay, like, that's weird, but cool. Okay, I guess Mark, they couldn't do anything else with Mark, so just put them back together. I don't know. But,
I feel the same way about them. Like, I'm a big fan of the Briscoes. And yeah, I think they recently just re-upped with Ring of Honor not too long ago. So
yeah, and that's...
I think they're going to be there for a while. They must be getting paid. And if they're getting paid, then good on them because, at the end of the day, you got to make your money when you can. And I know the Ring of Honor values them a lot, so hopefully they are getting paid what they're worth because they're worth a lot.
True.
But yeah, it would be nice to see them outside of the Ring of Honor environment because, outside of just how long they've been there, like they've done everything.
There's nothing else.
You know what I mean? It's like, and
it's like now they just.
But they're a great act.
I mean, like now they're just beefing with the Rock and Roll Express. It's like, that's what we doing. Like, that's.
I actually do like that though. I actually do enjoy that.
I don't know.
Man,
it's not good for me. I don't know. I don't see the point in it. Like those, they're not good. Like I can't let. All right, my issue, and this is with WWE. This is with any wrestling company. When you bring in older talent, there is no way you're not going to see a 60-year-old man beat a 20 or 30-year-old man in a fight. You're not going to see it happen. And yes, I suspend my disbelief. You suspend reality when you watch wrestling, but come on now. They're like 60 years old. They're not beating the Briscoes. The Briscoes are like the Stone Cold, like if Stone Cold had a twin and they were tag team partners. You are not beating two Stone Colds in a tag team match. You're not. Like
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they've wrestled before, and I'm pretty sure that they've beaten them every time. Or I know that there was a disqualification in one event.
Yeah.
So at least they are winning. They're beating them. The Briscoes are beating. But I get your point though, and I don't like that in WWE either. How they just have the older guys constantly, going over the younger.
Yeah.
And that's one area where New Japan does a really good job with their top stars as they get older, and they're going up against kind of like that younger new star on the rise.
Yeah.
Is they tell that story like they did it with they doing it now with Tanahashi. Where he's still Tanahashi, but he's a little older. He's a little more. Not that he's lost a step, but he's just not the Tanahashi of old. And they're telling these stories. When the G1 when Ospreay beat him and got that win over him. That's how you use your older stars to then big up and create new stars. Where it's like that match. That was one of my favorite matches of the entire tournament. Was his match against Ospreay's match against Tanahashi. But that was a great use for him.
And it is, and it's like, but you know what? They gotta take the junior. Like he can't be in the juniors like division anymore. Like they gotta just accept him as a heavyweight and just push him forward. I feel like, yeah, he does a lot of, cruiserweight moves and high risk maneuvers and everything like that. I think it's about time for him to just evolve as a wrestler and just go to the heavyweight division. I think it's time. Honestly, to me personally, I feel like it's his time. Like he's one of the hottest non-Japanese wrestlers in New Japan. I think it's his time. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I gotta imagine that's where they're going with this.
Yeah,
I know he still has the junior heavyweight title, but I don't see him keeping that much longer because you're right. I mean, that is his next step. I mean, Takagi Shingo, they announced that he's out now. He's in the heavyweight division. Mm-hmm. So I know Ospreay is going to be there soon enough. And honestly, okay, so go back to how New Japan can, really get themselves over here in the stateside more.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
He needs to be the face, the outside, like not the face in Japan, but when it comes to, creating a footprint, stateside, lean in on Will Ospreay. He is arguably, the top wrestler this year in terms of match quality. The guy is just, it's insane the stuff that this guy does in the ring. And to your point, he speaks English.
True.
I'd lean in on him and use him as a driving force to get more people involved. I mean, the guy's dope. I mean, and I've always been a fan of Ospreay's his in-ring talent. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I used to see him in PWG years ago and stuff. But I gotta say, he's the one thing that I always had against him, where I thought his facial expressions sometimes were a little too comical and kind of unbelievable. And I'm not a body guy. I'm not one of these guys that is like, oh, this guy is too small or too short to be a wrestler, whatever. I could give a shit about that.
Yeah.
But when I first started seeing him, he was really, really skinny. And it was just kind of, as good as he was, I was like, man, it was hard. Again, to your point, it was a little hard to suspend the disbelief that this skinny guy was really hurting his opponent, who honestly wasn't that much bigger, but he was so skinny. But over the years, I'm glad to see that he's added some muscle to his frame. So, and the thing is, it's not even that he's a jacked up muscle dude, but he now looks more like just an athlete.
True.
And he's toned down his kind of over the top facial expressions, and I think, he's dope, man. I think honestly, he's had some of the best matches, multiple best matches that I've seen this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then not even only that, his Twitter beef with Seth Rollins was always good. You know what I'm saying? That definitely boosted his notoriety.
His Q rating? Yeah. It definitely did, yeah.
Yes.
And he just comes across as just like a cool guy too,
Yeah. They should. But that's him beating Okada for the championship. I don't know. That's they make Okada like the damn Terminator. I don't know. I don't know. But if they really want to be a global brand, by all means, I think that's probably the best bet. Is Ospreay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I would lean on him, and they're still working with Chris Jericho.
Are they?
He comes in. Yeah, he comes in infrequently and stuff, but lean on him too. And of course Dean Ambrose. They have him or Moxley. They have him. From what I read, Moxley's contract is up till Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
But hey, even in the short term, use those guys. Get the name out. And it sounds like Ospreay, from everything that I've, he cuts these promos where he just wants to be New Japan for life. So,
hey.
If he wants to be loyal to that promotion, then put him in a position to help them get over, outside of Japan.
Yeah.
To a larger degree, because they are over, but just to a larger degree.
Absolutely, a global brand. Yeah, that. I think that would definitely help them in regards to really showcasing the New Japan product and just a different type of talent. Because there are people like the generic fan might be like, oh well, this is Japanese wrestling. I don't know, but Will Ospreay could open the doors and say, oh okay, so they got different styles, different. I think that would definitely help. But yeah, we've been speaking for about a little over 2 hours now, so let's Get into these nitty
Has it been
gritty
2 hours?
Twitter
Oh,
questions. Let's get these Twitter questions underway, and I know some of these might not be able to answer. I think this first one might be one of them. So we got this from Jeff West 2788, and he asks, "Are there rumors of you guys creating a wrestling game to rival WWE 2K true?" I don't know where they got it from, but this is just a question. I don't know.
So I mean, my boss, Hiromi, you saw the interview that she did, right?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where all this is coming from. And it's funny because I remember waking up the morning that thing went out, and I got a DM from my friend Marcus Stevenson. He used to work at THQ on the WWE games. Yeah. And he sent me a DM. He was like, "Dude, you guys are doing another game?" And so I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because in my head I'm thinking, "Damn, did I say something to the wrong person? Am I going? Am I in trouble now?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" He's like, and he sent me the link to the article, and I read it, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So Hiromi, I didn't know she was going to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, she mentioned that we are potentially working on a new project, and yeah, I mean that's all I can say at this point. I mean everything she said in her interview is something that is all accurate as far as everything that I know. So
okay,
we've got some things, and I've been very busy this year, so I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, but again, it's just these are just potential things. I mean, nothing is as of right now. Or we have no guarantees, but yeah, we got some potential things in the works. Let us leave it at that.
Okay. We got another question from Gene Hutchinson. What led to the split from 2K?
Okay, so this is something where even when I was at 2K, I knew that that was going to come. Because even when I was at THQ, I was 3 years in, or 3 years in, with THQ, and they were trying to get rid of Yukes because they wanted, and to get rid sounds hard, but basically because at the end of the day, THQ and 2K are two giant, well, in the case of THQ, giant, publishers that have their own internal development studios. Anytime you get into a situation where you're a publisher and you also own and have studios underneath your umbrella, I mean, just from a business standpoint, you would much rather have your games that you publish be developed internally. That's just business sense. Yeah. And I remember when I was at THQ, Rainbow Studios, the guy that did MX vs. ATV and some other stuff, the decision makers at THQ really wanted to have Rainbow develop the SmackDown games and have that be done internally. And again, it has nothing to do with it's all money. It has nothing to do with they're they're a shitty developer or whatever. It's just what's most cost effective for us. Because paying a third party developer is more expensive than if you have your own studios that you can have the games developed there. True. So I mean that's really what it boils down to. And like I said, the thing at THQ, the Rainbow attempt didn't work. And I remember Yukes was even told that they were not going to be used, but then Rainbow, they just weren't able to get anything up and running. So
wow,
management had to go back to Yukes and be like, so about our contract here, our deal. And of course, Yukes of course, we're back, we'll take care of it. So yeah, I mean, this wasn't the first time. It didn't happen with THQ, but yeah, when I first went to 2K, and I mean, we all kind of knew that. Yeah. I mean, just how 2K operates, all of their stuff is developed internally. Yeah. So it's just a matter of time. And I knew that even when I went to when I joined Yukes directly, I was well aware, and I even brought it up, when I was in my interview with Hiromi, that would be the case, but. And I mean, no one was surprised. I mean, she knew too. She was like, "Look, yeah, we'll deal with that when it comes." But yeah. Okay. So, but that's just how it is. It's business, I mean, if you look at every major publisher out there, I mean, the Activisions of the world, like their Call of Duties, all that stuff is developed internally. No one wants to pay extra money to an external or a third party developer if they don't have to.
True.
So that was it. Just business.
Okay. All right.
But we gonna be all right.
No, I believe you. I definitely believe you. I have another question from the underscore the superstar. How do you guys decide what attire a wrestler wears? What attire a wrestler wears in the game?
There's no really one set criteria. At least back when I was, a part of this.
Yeah.
Because I was actually involved in attires for a point.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. I mean, there were times where sometimes the wrestlers would just let us know, what they wanted to wear.
Okay.
That was rare. That wasn't a normal case, but it has happened.
Okay.
And then most times it was just a matter of the designers, us, kind of just going through and saying, "Oh, yeah, we like this one," and that was pretty much it.
Oh,
like,
okay. But
I mean, yeah, there really wasn't no grand process.
Okay, so with that one, I have a little question of my own with that. So lately, I've been playing some old SmackDown games, right? And I have seen that with the Christian character, there's been some weird things going on with his attires. Where like there's a design band that goes around his waist. Sometimes it stops halfway, and another time where he has one wristband on and one wristband off. I was a little bit confused about that.
Which game was this?
Oh man, this was I want to say this is Just Bring It. It had to have been Just Bring It, and also Here Comes the Pain. He had like some weird attire like things going on. I was like, this is a bit weird. I'm not understanding this. Why he has one wristband on, one wristband off. Another one he had a blue attire with the gold C's, but then like the waistband, how the gold design is supposed to go all the way around, it stopped halfway. So I don't know. It was just a little thing that I look at.
Yeah, that's interesting. That that game was before me.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that I'm actually. I'm at work. I'm actually booting up Here Comes the Pain right now. I want to take a look at this. But yeah, but in general, yeah, when it comes to the attires, it's like when I was heavily involved, like the thing that I would typically do is like if there's a wrestler, and I watched a lot of wrestling, so I kind of know, but I just keep an eye out for if like what are they wearing the most? Like what's the commonality? Like if I'm seeing a Christian, just using him as an example, and I'm seeing him on TV week after week after week, like what is he in the most, as opposed to the things that he may just put on as like a one-off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of base decisions. We would base our decisions off that. But then when it comes to guys that are like kind of newer to the brand or to the roster, that when you only have so many options to pick from, so you kind of just go with like whatever they had in there when they debuted on TV or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That
was always fun though, picking the rosters or the attires.
Okay, so yeah, with the attires, can you give me some examples of who called in and said, "Hey, I want this specific attire"?
Oh man, shit. I believe Kofi Kingston did once.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. He actually did it. It was actually in conjunction with. Remember when he added the tattoo down his back?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. He got an email like it was like notifying us that he was getting this work done, and that he was gonna, because we need reference of all this stuff. So he was just letting us know about the tattoo and how he wanted, and it wasn't like it was him being told to us through him, but with the liaison from like the WWE, someone from the office. So letting us know about the tattoo and that, he's changing his gear up slightly and to kind of like he wants to be in this, in the game. Like this is what he wants to do. So this is how he wants his character to be represented.
Okay.
So that was one. Man, who else? And I can't think of anybody. Kobe sticks out just because of the tattoo thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one I can really think of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we got Kabuki Joe or at Marcus Baker X1 asks, do wrestlers often come into the Yuke studio in Japan?
Not often, but they have. We have, yeah, in the past, not recently. But our our office, or the Yuke's office in Japan, is really really dope. It's like, I mean, you can definitely once you go inside, there's no mistaking what kind of games we make, because it's almost like a wrestling museum.
Yeah.
There's old figures on the wall, posters everywhere. We have a mini cage, like cage match setup where we kind of use as an office for meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's one meeting room that we have where on the wall it's just nothing but photographs of all of our staff, Yukes staff, with pictures of wrestlers, whether they were at a WrestleMania or at a press event, or even photos from the office when some of the talent would visit. I know Eddie Guerrero visited the Yukes office years ago. Who else? Maybe Eddie's the only one that was it Tess? No, not Tess. Eddie for sure, because I remember everybody wanted pictures with Eddie, so there's just it's like the whole design stuff got photos with Eddie Guerrero from his visit.
Okay.
So yeah, but again, that was a long time ago. There haven't been any wrestlers in the office in quite some time.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, based on what just that you guys are no longer working with 2K. A lot of the questions really revolved around what's next for Yukes. So, but we already have that interview that was already out. Just describing of you guys really want to really stretch your arms and really get a wrestling game a game that you guys have control of. So we a lot of the questions that I have from Twitter are around that and around like the current game. I don't know. Can you speak about the current game or no?
No.
Okay.
No. Nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Nothing to do with it.
Okay.
The last thing that I did. Oh, okay. I got Christian on the screen right now.
Okay. Is it?
So I'm playing Here Comes the Pain.
Okay, Here Comes the Pain. Okay, yeah, I got that game. So, I believe his attire. Is it that one? Where his attire?
It's red.
Oh no, not the red one. He had a blue attire. So so it's not Here Comes the Pain. It might be Just Bring It. His attire where it was weird. I was like, why he only has one wristband on, and the waistband design doesn't go all the way around. It was like little small things. I was like, that's weird. But if it was before your time, we're gonna have to find somebody to blame. I'll have to look at the I'm gonna have to look at the credits and find that person and blame them. Tag them on Twitter.
There you go.
But yeah.
But I was just gonna say, so yeah, this new game coming out, yeah, we didn't have anything to do with it. I'm a big Ricochet fan.
Okay.
Like he's one of my favorites right now. He has been for a long, long time. Very happy for his success. Wish he was booked better, but that's neither here nor there. I knew that 19 was our last early on in the process, and I was like, okay, cool. So I think the last thing that I did for 19 was his moveset, because I'm a big fan of his, and I'm like, this is gonna be the last thing that I do, and I'm gonna take my time with this. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna dig deep, and that was it. Once I finished his moveset and got that as a game, registered that in the game.
Okay.
Wipe my hands, and I was like, I ended on a high note with that, and yeah, on to the future.
All right, well that's what's up. I mean, hey, you got your hands on some DLC, so that's definitely a good thing. I mean, hey, that's one way to go out. I mean, Ricochet, everybody, honestly, and I'm gonna say this from a creator standpoint, like a card creator, everybody has his entrance or some of his moves on their call. Like, so, believe me, what you've done, you definitely made a lot of people happy, and
and annoyed some people. But overall, man, like I definitely appreciate the time for this interview, man. I like this means like so much, like to me, like for real, because I used to see like the interviews that you have, and I mean, shout outs to everybody that interviewed you before, but I'm like, none of these guys really ask good, like really good questions. So I don't know, maybe I didn't either, but I'll leave it to
no,
like,
you did.
all right.
You did, brother. And honestly, like, thank you for even wanting to talk to me, man. Like, this was it's like I feel this like a long time coming. Because we've exchanged, messages on Twitter and stuff like that. And like I said, I mean, I've known of you since like 2009. So it was meant to happen, and it finally did, man. So I just want to thank you for having me on. It's been really fun talking to you.
No, thank you. Listen, it's really been good, and it's like, man, it's just so many things I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to eventually meet you, like, at one of the conventions and be like, introduce myself and, like, really, like, I wanted to do that. And it was just like, and I was saying to myself, like, man, I want to just do something different. And I'm like, let me just ask him if I can interview. Let me just see what he says. Like, worst case he could say is no, and I'm just at where I'm at already. But, like I said, I definitely appreciate it. I really do. So, like, thank you for, like, just giving me the time for this. Like I said, I definitely appreciate it.